If you guys don't know already, Titanfall 2 is my favorite first-person shooter of all time. My favorite game of all time, arguably. There are close contenders such as Devil May Cry 5, Prototype 2, and also Doom Eternal. But that isn't what this video is about. First of all, we're gonna split this into 5 categories. Number 1 is going to be movement. Number 2 is going to be weapons and gunplay. Number 3 is going to be tacticals, ordnance, and kits. Number 4 is going to be boosts. And number 5 is going to be titans. I'm gonna talk about each category in depth, so don't worry. I will try not to leave anything out. If I do, then I will put it in part 2, because I will not be including AI, because that will take even longer to research, and I don't have enough storage for that, because I have to record all of that, and my PC can only contain a certain amount of storage. So, you know, I will make a part 2 to this video if you guys want me to, about AI. If you don't want me to, I'll just remake the Spider-Man video that I made earlier, I think 2 weeks ago, if I remember correctly. But anyway, let's start with movement.
Fucking move! Why don't you move?
Sensu G on the beat.
The movement mechanic in Titanfall 2 is probably the most loved mechanic in the game, because, as you know, Titanfall 2 is a movement shooter, and one of the key things in Titanfall is movement. The average pilot's run speed is about 22 kilometers per hour. The average raw run speed is about 31 kilometers per hour. The max speed is 50. In order to get to 50 kilometers per hour, you have to figure out how to do the wall push at a certain time. If you can't do it properly, you won't get to the max speed. Or you could use the grenade propulsion to boost you through the map, or through the area, whichever area you are in. But the best way to keep momentum is by using the bunny hop mechanic. It's a very simple mechanic. You press the jump button while you touch the ground. As soon as you touch the ground, you press the jump button while crouching to keep your momentum, otherwise you'll just slow down. You can also use things like the grapple and stim as well to also keep your momentum. The main thing in Titanfall 2's fundamentals is traversal and combat. Those are the 2 reasons you use the move mechanics. But the problem with the movement system is the fact that one side is more incentivized than other. Like, for example, traversal mechanics are extremely incentivized when it comes to the movement systems of Titanfall. Like, you have to use the movement system correctly in order to progress. But in the combat aspect, it is not as much incentivized as it should be. Like, you can play Titanfall like Call of Duty to a certain degree, not entirely, but you can do that, and you can still get a successful plan out of that. And you shouldn't be able to, because Titanfall is not Call of Duty. You shouldn't be able to do that. But unfortunately, because the mechanics aren't as incentivized as they should be, you can do that type of gameplay, and it doesn't encourage the actual systems, and you don't have to use the systems correctly in order to get the most efficiency out of the game. If they gave more of an incentive in combat, it would actually improve the game massively and make it more unique. Like, for example, when you're wall running, you take less damage, or when you're moving in the air, you take less damage. It would encourage players to use the game system more, because you have to give incentive in order for the players to use your mechanics correctly. If there's no incentive and there's no real depth behind it, the players won't use it correctly. Most players won't. Some players will. Some players will still use the move mechanics efficiently and will still use the game's mechanics, but most players won't, because they're not encouraged to. It's just how some gamers work. Like, you can't really like make it in a way that's too like, oh, do whatever you want, because if you do that, then the game's mechanics won't shine. The movement mechanics aren't utilized correctly. You have a whole problem with the system in general, because enough players aren't using the systems correctly. So you have 2 categories of people. You have people who play like Call of Duty, or play like boots on the ground shooter like Battlefield, Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, whatever. And then you have the people who actually use the mechanics correctly. You have those 2 types of people. You have one type of people. That's how Titanfall 2 should should be designed and should have been encouraged in the first place, but unfortunately it was not. But that is the biggest problem with the movement mechanics of Titanfall 2. The system itself, the controls itself are very good, like they're smooth, they have no real problems. It's just that if they encouraged it more in their design philosophy, it would have been used more and it would have been more unique if the players had been more encouraged to use it and were punished for trying to not use the mechanics correctly, because that's how you should design games. You should design games where all your mechanics are used correctly, because if they aren't, then there's no use for them. It's the same with the ADS mechanic in Titanfall 2. The ADS mechanic isn't as useful as it should be because the ADS slows down the player. It doesn't make them faster. And the whole point of Titanfall is movement. So if you're hindering your movement by using something that makes you slow down, then it kind of opens you up to being killed, or it just messes your movement in general, and you won't move as fast. You won't get through whatever for example, you're doing a level, or you're in the multiplayer map and you're trying to get through it. If you ADS, you're gonna slow down. It's just how ADS works. But the ADS mechanic, in my opinion, shouldn't be in Titanfall. If you want players to use movement mechanics correctly, you shouldn't have a mechanic that hinders said movement. It kind of contradicts your movement philosophy, where you have to use movement to get the most efficiency, right? But then you have a mechanic where if you don't use ADS, you won't get as much accuracy, but you also won't be able to move as quickly. So you have two mechanics just colliding with each other, and there's no real consistency to it. What they should have done instead of ADS, they should have added alternate firing modes, where every gun in Titanfall has an alternate firing mode, or it has a mode that doesn't slow down the movement, something like that, instead of having ADS, because you don't actually need ADS in Titanfall because so many of the guns are so accurate already. It's not like Call of Duty where you need to ADS to get the most accuracy. In Titanfall, that's not the case. But that's the movement mechanic overall. It's a good mechanic, it's just that it needs more incentive in order to be a true, well done mechanic, but unfortunately it didn't. But anyway, moving on.
I am not gang gang. I do not gang bang. But play me like I'm pussy, I will pull up and bang bang.
Yeah, you got enemies, we got enemies, I know. Reconciliation demonstrated what I hope. If you want to test, then that test will be fine, no. You better watch your step like you walking on tightrope. Give heat like Spyro, remove like Lipo. Ice red like typo, repeat then I go. Do not get it twisted, get it caught in the Spyro. I heard they was all for the show, recito. Squad base in the lace, we will never lack. Enemies coming way, surfing all on back. Anyway, any day, ready to attack. Not a couple times for the break, now we back. 2 gun in play, cause it's finna clap. 2 kills, no twins, I can double that. 4 HP, tell me where the trouble at. But know when to run, do the dash, running back. It may be a game, but this real confrontation. Might pick up a stick, but just know I ain't playing. We give them the smoke, but it's all for the taking. This weapon kick back like it took a vacation. Call it a kid, but the sword I am raising. Armor my body on any occasion. The squad come together, we feel like a nation. The squad come together, we feel like a nation. If you wanna fight, then you gotta be ready to stay alive. Keep your mind sharp, cut like machete. And if you outnumber, let it spit like confetti. Melee button, jaw break like I said Ed and Eddie. It's kinda petty when they try to push your button or telly. I'm getting sweaty, everything is up to you and it's heavy. Gotta keep a level head, cause that can be deadly. And when I'm deadly, just know enemy lives getting levied.
In total, there are 33 weapons in Titanfall, 26 primary, 4 anti-tank, and 3 secondary weapons. All of them serve certain purposes. But what we're going to do first, we're going to talk about primaries first, then we're going to talk about secondaries, then we're going to talk about anti-Titan weapons last. So let's start with primary. So you have 7 categories in Titanfall. You have assault rifles, you have SMGs, you have LMGs, you have snipers, you have shotguns, you have grenaders, and you have pistols. Those are 7 categories. But I'm going to categorize them in terms of performance into meta weapons, mid weapons, and must be good weapons. I'll talk about that after, but I'll categorize the performance of each weapon in these 3 categories. But anyway, let's go on to the categories first of the different weapons. So the assault rifles in Titanfall, they're alright, to be honest. They're not the best category, but they are, like, I would say, if I would categorize them in the best, which is the best category, which is the worst, I would say they're alright. They're like in the mid tier. Some assault rifles are better than others, but for the most part, the assault rifles are alright. They're alright, to be honest. So the SMGs are cracked. in this game. The car, the R97, the Volt, the alternator, they're extremely broken weapons. The Volt is obviously the worst, but the most cracked being the car, which has no recoil for some stupid reason. But we're not going to talk about that. Then we also have the LMGs. The LMGs are also very good. They're mostly good at long range, mainly the Spitfire and the Devotion. The L-Star is alright at mid-range. It's mainly a mid-range weapon. It's not really a long-range weapon, even though it's an LMG. It's because it shoots projectiles, it doesn't shoot bullets. So obviously it'll be different. But yeah, you know. Then we talk about snipers. The snipers are also alright. They're just regular snipers, to be honest. There's not really much unique about them. It's very hard to use them in this type of game, so it takes a lot of skill to use. So that they fall in the must be good category for the most part. Some more than others, mainly the Kraber, but you know. Then you also got the shotguns. The shotguns are alright. Long range they suck. More like mid range they're very good. Close range they slap at close range. If you get next to someone with a shotgun, you're fucked. Grenaders. The grenaders, I would say, they're also alright. They're more fall in the must be good category, to be honest, because they have a learning curve to them where you have to understand the trajectory of every shot of that weapon, otherwise you will miss most of your shots. The pistols also fall in the must be good category. The only category that falls in the meta category are the SMGs. All the other categories, none of them are meta. There's only like 5 meta weapons in Titanfall. There's only 5. We're not going to talk about the smart pistol, because the smart pistol is a boost. Technically, if you would categorize it would be a pistol in the pistol category, but we're going to talk about the smart pistol in the next part. But you know, actually not part 4. For now, we're going to talk about these ones. The reason why I say the car and the alternator and the R97 are meta weapons is because they're so fucking accurate and they do so much damage at certain ranges, especially the car. This thing is retarded how much DPS it has and how accurate it is. It doesn't make sense why the Respawn would make this gun so accurate, so broken, and never fix it. It boggles my mind to this day. The alternator is not that bad. People say the alternator is cracked. Not really. At range it sucks. Like at certain ranges it doesn't do that much damage. It's mainly at mid range and close range it slaps. R97 same thing. R97 isn't really that good at range. It's mainly good at mid or close. But the reason why the car is so broken is because the car literally has no recoil. I do not understand. Like, it's actually stupid. It's actually dumb how accurate that gun is. That's why the community hates that gun so much, and why it breaks the combat flow all of the time, and people can't stand it. It gets on their nerves. The mid weapons would mostly be the assault rifles, the LMGs, mainly the Devotion and the L-Star, the grenaders. Actually no, the grenaders must be good. So the LMGs and the assault rifles are the only ones that fall in the category of mid. Most of them are not that good. They're not that good. The Devotion ain't that great. The L-Star ain't that good in terms of like DPS and accuracy and being able to shoot while moving that quickly. It's not that easy with those weapons. R201, yeah, you could, but R201, the DPS on it is not that great. It doesn't have as much DPS as the SMGs do, and it doesn't shoot as fast as the SMGs do. So unfortunately, it doesn't fall in that category. It's just a weaker version of a SMG. That's what the R201 is. That's why it doesn't fall in the category of meta. If it did the same amount of damage as like for example the car or the alternator, then it would be a meta weapon. But unfortunately it's not. So you know, the pistols are extremely hard to use, like especially the Wingman Elite. That weapon is extremely difficult to use. You have to know how that weapon works and the trajectory of the bullet in order to actually hit someone with that shit. It's literally like holding a mini Kraber in your hand. It functions the same way as the Kraber in terms of the bullet velocity. They shoot the exact same way. That's why the Kraber and the Wingman Elite both fall in must be good. And trying to kill someone with the Kraber is extremely fucking difficult. I've tried to do it. It's damn near impossible for me. It takes a lot of skill and a lot of you have to learn that weapon like thoroughly in order to get kills with that shit. It's very difficult. The same with the grenaders as well. The shotguns, I would put them in mid tier. tier only because most of the time shotguns only work if enemies are close to you. They're situational. They're not like, they don't work in every situation. The SMGs don't work in every situation too, but they have more range than the shotguns do, and they have more DPS than the shotguns. That's why SMGs are in the meta category, and why the shotguns are in mid category. If the shotguns had more range, they would be in meta straight away, because those things up close do so much damage. If you get close to someone with an EVA 8 or Mastiff, they're fucked. They can't do nothing. If you unless you have terrible aim, but if you don't, they're screwed. It's only situational, to be honest. That's why I put the shotguns in the mid tier. But anyway, let's move on to the secondaries. The secondaries are all mid. They're all mid. I'm sorry. They're all right. They're just mid. Especially the wingman and the Hammond. They're not that good. The RE45 is the best secondary weapon out of all three of them, because it has so much. It's only good when the enemy's low and you finish them off. Like trying to kill someone with the RE45 is fucking difficult. It's only good for when they're low. If they're not low and you try to use that shit, good luck, mate. The wingman elite, the wingman falls in the same category as the wingman elite, but the wingman does less damage than the wingman elite. It does 3 shots instead of 2. So it doesn't. That's why it's in mid tier. That's why I say it's mid. If it did the same amount of damage as the wingman elite, it would defeat the purpose of the wingman elite existing. But the Hammond is. I barely even use that weapon, but I've used it before. But I would say that the Hammond is also mid, because I've tried to get kills with it, and it's extremely difficult. It's like a mini G2. You don't really do shit. It's mostly just for like mid range. Close range, it fucking sucks. But yeah, I'll say it's mid. It's definitely mid. Those 3 weapons are definitely mid. They're only good in certain situations. They're not good overall. If you use them all the time, you'll just get shat on. They can't compete with the SMGs and the LMGs and even the assault rifles. They can't compete. Shotguns, hell no. They're only good if your enemy's low. So you only use your secondary weapons as a last resort if you run out of bullets or you can't reload fast enough. Then you switch to your secondary. You don't use a secondary as a primary because they don't function that way. I've seen people try to do it. I've seen YouTubers try to do it and they get shat on because those weapons aren't designed that way. They're not designed to be used as primary weapons. That's the whole point of them being secondary weapons. But they have to be mid, because if they weren't mid, then people would just use them all the time and it would defeat the purpose of them being secondaries. That's the whole point. But anyway, moving on to anti-tank weapons. So this is the hard part, because I wouldn't say they're mid or like meta, because all of them have a different function and they're so different from each other, and they're not really situational, because the anti-tank weapons can be used from all ranges except for the mag grenade launcher. That's the only one that can't be used at all ranges. The charge rifle can, the thunderbolt can, the archer can. All 3 of those are long range weapons and close range. The Thunderbolt is very good at close range, is decent at long range, is good at mid range. The charge rifle is good at all ranges. It's a laser. It has infinite range. The Archer is mainly good at mid, but the Archer does the most damage out of all the weapons, of all the anti-tank weapons. The Thunderbolt is very good at stunning. It's basically a mini arc grenade. Sorry, mini arc grenade, but it works. It functions the same as the arc grenade. It stuns the Titans when they get hit by it. It disorientates their cockpit when they get shot by it. And also the same with the charge rifle. The charge rifle doesn't actually disorientate the Titan, but it works the same way as the laser shot with ion. The same thing. You shoot it and it has the same range and the same function. It's basically a handheld laser shot from ion. It does the same amount of damage. But the best anti-tank weapon, that's the hard one. That's a hard one. I would say it's probably have to be either the Thunderbolt or the charge rifle. You're probably thinking, oh, why not the Archer? Well, the Archer has so many flaws to it. Because number one, you have to lock onto the Titan in order to actually shoot them with it, which exposes you and makes you more likely to get attacked, because it literally says on the cockpit that someone's locking onto you. And they show you exactly where they're locking onto you. So you can just turn around and deal with the dude, or whoever the fuck it is, and then you killed them. Or the second reason, is because when you're locking on, it takes a while. It doesn't lock on instantly. It takes like about 3 to 4 seconds to lock on, and then in those 3 to 4 seconds you can die. So you're basically exposing yourself to being killed. And the third reason is they can just dodge the rocket, or you can miss. So the Archer rocket isn't that great. It really isn't. The charge rifle is a way better option because it's a laser and it also has infinite range. Even though you can charge, it takes a while to charge, there is a function, there is a mod where it increases the fire rate speed, but it decreases the damage. But you have more customization with the charge rifle, and it's way more safe, because if you shoot someone with a charge rifle, they can only see where they can only, if for example you shoot them in the back, they're gonna see the icon, but they will not know that you shot them, because there's no lock on for the charge rifle. So you can just shoot them, run away, or reposition, go to a different location, and then shoot them again, and they won't know where you are unless if you're very good at repositioning. If you're not good, you'll probably get spotted. And the Thunderbolt is the same thing. It's very good at it works the same way. But the thing is, the Thunderbolt is the best bet. It's the safest bet, because when you hit someone with the Thunderbolt, they get stunned. They won't see the icon because they get stunned by it, because it works the same as arc grenade. It disorientates the cockpit of the pilot piloting the Titan. But the mag launcher is so mid. Like you can't use that shit at long range at all. If you shoot that at close range, you're fucked, because most times will just see you and just squish you like a bug. That's the thing. The mag launcher is the worst out of all of them. Out of all four, the mag launcher sucks. The mag launcher is arguably one of the worst weapons in Titanfall. If I would put the category of the worst weapons in Titanfall, it would probably be the Cold War, the mag launcher, and the what's another one? What's another shit one? That the Hemlock as well. It's not that great. It really isn't. I've used it. It's not that good. It really is not. Yeah, it's very accurate, but when it comes to, you have to stand completely still to get a lot of kills with that weapon, or strafe. If you like try to hit fire with it, you're fucked. You're really screwed, to be honest. The fire rate of it is just not good. It really isn't. The G2 is a better bet, to be honest. It's a safer bet. It has more fire rate, and also the Hammond as well is also suck. I'm sorry for anyone who uses the Hammond. It's not that good. You know, objectively speaking, it's not that good. You can like the weapon, it doesn't make it great. I'm sorry. Yeah, those are I'll say those four are the worst weapons in Titanfall. And people say, what about the Kraber? No, the Kraber is actually cracked. I've seen people use the Kraber. That shit's cracked. It's a one-shot kill anywhere to the body. If you shoot them in the foot, it will die. It literally one-shots any part of the body, any part. It is the only weapon that one-shots in Titanfall. And I've seen people be able to use it, and that shit, they get so many kills with it, because it does so much damage. It's like using a fucking Barrette in Call of Duty. You're done. It's over. It works the same way. It works the exact same way. The Kraber's literally a fucking Barrette. It's a 50 caliber sniper. Have you seen the bullets on the Kraber? How long the bullets are? The magazine, that thing is wham. The Mozambique as well. It's a mid weapon as well. Like it's not that bad. It's not even shit. A lot of people say it's terrible, but it actually does more damage than the Hammond and the Cold War and also the mag launcher. It's a way better weapon, because it's also got that mid and close range. It's a 2-shot kill from mid to close. A lot of people don't realize that it does the same amount of damage as the Wingman Elite. It's actually ridiculous. Some people don't realize how much DPS that thing has. It's a very underrated weapon, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible and non-biased as possible, because I don't even use the Mozambique that much. I mean, I've used it before, but I'm saying I don't use it that much. Anyway, moving on to part 3.